welcome to another episode of Humans Talking HR. Today we have Jeri with us. She's a person with extensive experience in HR. So, Jeri, welcome, and please introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Well, my name is Jeri George. I'm out of Texas, in the United States. I am an HR professional. I'm currently a chief HR officer for a medium-sized nonprofit, and I also am an adjunct professor at one of the universities here in Texas where I teach HR in the School of Business. So that's a little bit me and my work life. And I am from Texas. If you're familiar with the area, I'm from the Hill Country, which is up just north of Austin. And I grew up on the Guadalupe River, enjoyed nature and getting outdoors. And I live in the city now, but I get out there every chance I get when I have a break.
Thank you for that introduction. So you mentioned you are from Texas. Did you study in Texas, or how was your education?
Yes. I did study in Texas. I have my undergraduate degree in English and communications, and then I have my master's degree, mostly in education, curriculum instruction. And while I was here in Texas, I also got all of my HR professional credentials from SHRM and HRCI. So I've kind of had a long career path. But yes, I've not really left Texas other than to vacation and sightsee.
And tell me, how were your first work experiences? Maybe before HR, how did it go?
Well, I think I was probably like a lot of young college students. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. But right before I graduated with my undergrad, a big retail company came for a recruitment fair, a corporate recruitment fair. And so I was recruited into retail leadership. And I spent my first 5 years of my professional career in that. It's a large company. It's a grocery retailer, predominantly focused here in Texas and into Mexico and branching out into some other states now. And they have a phenomenal training program. I really got a lot of good foundational leadership skills there before I career changed into education. And then when I was in education, I really didn't feel like I was making a big enough difference. It was great with my students in the classroom, but I felt like I could do more. And that's when I went into administration, HR, working with schools. And I've ventured out of the school arena, and I've been in for-profit, and now I'm in nonprofit in HR. So kind of getting an array of experiences in terms of business. But it took me a while, but I found my niche in HR.
So considering that today you are an HR manager, you actually are you are part of organizations and so on. What other position have you been through before reaching your current role as an HR manager or as an HR leader?
Well, I've done a lot of when I was in education, I started out as a teacher and then went into campus administration. And then from there, I went straight into a director of HR role. But I've also been a consultant too. So I've done consulting work for several companies. I've been an interim VP, I've been a senior director, I've been a director. And so that's all kind of led into now I'm the chief HR officer where I'm at. So I've held a lot of roles. I've been in all different sizes of companies. There's been times where I was an HR team of one and I had to learn and do everything, which was really great opportunity because I really am in my leadership role a generalist. I understand every facet of HR and I can quickly pivot and lead teams in those different areas because I had to do it myself at some point in time. So those different roles helped me to get to where I'm at.
All right, thank you for sharing your experience with us. And what do you like the most about being an HR manager?
There's lots of things I think I like about my role. It's always changing. There's always something new. Just when I think I've seen it all in terms of employees, employee relations, something pops up that I didn't expect. COVID threw us for a big twist in employment law. So I think the work is never dull. because we're working with humans and it's unpredictable, I don't get bored. And I think that's what I enjoy most about serving others, helping others, and never knowing what's around the corner or the next day.
All right. And is there something that you do not like about HR?
Um, Probably benefits is not my favorite area. I can do it and I will do it, but I prefer to be with the people on the employee relations side versus doing benefit enrollments, doing reconciliations and that sort of thing. I really prefer being out there face forward with the employees, doing investigations, helping mediate, helping people self-reflect and improve. That's really where I love to be.
So considering that you have a long experience in HR, is there a good memory that you have, something that was key in your career, something that you remember, or maybe someone that was, key in your career to become who you are today?
I think I've had a lot of great, strong leaders around me over time. Of course, you always have leaders that maybe aren't the best leaders, and I've learned what not to do from them, from watching them. But I have had some really good people around me. There was this one employment law attorney one time. Was doing a workplace investigation, and I was really kind of feeling a lot of pressure by the board to hurry the investigation along to get to the outcome and the recommendations. And so I felt a lot of stress from that. And I was working with one of our employment law attorneys, and I think she picked up on my stress and she realized I was kind of being pushed to hurry things along. And she just very calmly said, give yourself the gift of time. And it was something about the way she said it, and knowing all of her long tenured experience in employment law, it was very reassuring to me. And there's a lot of times now we get in such a hurry sometimes to make decisions, especially in business. And I always hear her voice in the back of my head, give yourself the gift of time. So sometimes I have to slow things down a little bit to make sure the integrity of a situation or an investigation is there and that we're doing the right thing for the employees and for the company. So she was one person that really kind of stuck with me. And there's lots of them over the years, but I still think about what she said to me that day. And it sounds so, just a little tidbit, but it was really impactful in that moment for me.
Is there something that you consider maybe a challenge or achievement that you consider that was key in your career?
I think getting my certifications was key. Getting the professional HR certifications is hard. It's a labor of love, a lot of studying, a lot of prep work. The examinations are not easy. But I think that's what gave me credibility when I'm working with others and trying to promote my profession. It helped me gain a seat at the table, so to speak, in business, where I'm taken more seriously. I'm seen as a person of knowledge. And so the credentials, while challenging to get, were very well worth it. And they're worth maintaining because, we have to maintain our CEUs and our credits in order to maintain those credentials. And so it never ends, but it's been worth it.
So now let's talk about your day-to-day work. How is your team composed right now?
I have 5 right now. I've had teams as large as 13 under me. So, but right now my team is 5, and that has been made possible largely by IT systems and software, because we're able to move the work easier and faster. Sometimes we're able to shift some of the work to even our employees. For example, having them do simple things like even updating their own direct deposit information for their paychecks or changing their own address in the system. Whereas before, HR used to do all that. It was very manual. So we're able to scale back a little bit, and we're also able to I'm able to elevate my team professionally. They operate at a higher level because the systems do a lot of transactional stuff for us now. So it's largely dependent on the type of business that you're in and what the task and goals are. But some companies have been able to scale back with the help of IT systems.
And currently, what's the methodology that you use to work with your team? Do you work remotely, hybrid? We know that pandemic has changed the way that companies are, dealing with their employees. So how does your team currently work?
My team currently has a hybrid system. So we're 50% in office, 50% remote, and it works really well. Before the pandemic, we were 100% in the office. And of course, that changed. We went 100% remote during the pandemic. And within the last year or so, we've decided for workplace flexibility. We saw that the systems really helped us work remote successfully, and we're more productive, I think. Some of us have really long commutes, and so cutting back on those hours we spend sitting in traffic makes us more productive, less fatigued, and the systems carry us. I have teams right now. I have employees across 5 Texas counties, which is a pretty large area. Texas is a big state.
Yeah.
And I can't always just drive over there and see somebody in person. So we use a lot of virtual sessions, even like what we're doing today. And I feel like I have a better connection to my teams that are in the outlying areas because I can actually see their face now versus a phone call or a text message. So we're finding it's working quite well for us.
A few minutes ago, you mentioned the composition of your team. Is there any specific methodology that you apply in the day-to-day work? How does your team execute the task? Do you have people specialized in some specific areas, or how does it work in your team?
We're pretty much set more of on a traditional model. We all have an area of expertise. I have people on my team that are experts in leave administration, benefits. They're utilizing systems to track and log all of that. Flows into time cards, as well as some of the federal laws and regulations that we have to maintain records for. And then I have a recruiting team. I have a safety and risk management person. I have a generalist. So we kind of divide and conquer the key components of HR, and then each person has the technology they need to support them. What's great about it is, obviously, as you probably know, there's lots of systems out there that can do a full suite so that one component can talk to the next component, or everyone has the access level that they need to be able to do their job. So I don't have to be sitting next to somebody to see what they're doing. I can see it in the system. So we kind of silo things out, but there's still that interdepartmental communication, largely because of the systems that we have.
So I'm a tech guy, so let me ask you, what software do you use in your department?
We use a few different things. Right now, we're currently with a vendor by the name of Paycom. We previously have used Paycor. I've also used ADP in the past. We also use a system called Docu, which comes through, the vendor is Toshiba, and that's largely for records retention and so on. So our finance team, our other departments, they all use an array of other systems too to complement what they're doing, but those are the ones that we focus on right now with our team.
Is there any software that you consider that is essential for the companies to have? Like, is there any recommendation that you have for the people listening and watching this episode?
I don't think there's any one component that truly does it anymore these days. That they have to talk. So a full suite software system is really needed to capture the life cycle of an individual, meaning from the moment they apply, they're flowing in through our recruiting systems, then they're hired, they're flowing straight into our payroll, into our learning management systems, into all of our tracking systems, that and flowing into our benefits. They're signing up for their benefits. Everything's coming together and everything's talking and communicating. Before technology, that was a labor of love with a lot of teams, a lot of human error, things would get missed, paper stacking up everywhere. And so it's not any one IT system or component that's needed anymore. I think it's a full suite that communicates and flows through the full cycle of an employee.
So given that you have a pretty strong experience working with HR, what do you think that could be improved in the industry in any type of topic, maybe technology, people-wise, whatever you think that could be improved by the HR professionals?
I think a little bit more emphasis on some of the legal compliance. I see a lot of times systems processes, whether they're manual or IT related, it's more transactional based. We're trying to get the task done, but we're not really looking at, if I do this, if I, add this to that, what is the legal ramification? What is the compliance issue that may be triggered down the road? I think there's a need to forecast and to look into the future and anticipate problems or things that might surface because of how we process, whether it's, inadvertently setting up a system that may cause a discriminatory action, even though that was not the intent. Systems and processes are only good as the people that create them and set them up. So I think we have to do a lot of constant troubleshooting, revisiting, and focusing on that compliance and looking ahead. And I think for the most part, HR professionals do that, but I think it's an area where there could be a lot more improvement in training, especially to help newer people coming into the roles, but also people that touch HR, that have to work with HR, but maybe don't understand HR. So I would say probably in those areas.
Now let's talk about the future. How do you see HR in 5 years?
Oh gosh, I honestly feel like HR is going to go more into a risk compliance legal role. Historically, it was payroll and benefits. But after COVID, the way, especially US regulations and laws are changing and changing quickly, the way, there's a sense where people want to exercise their rights and they're much more vocal than they used to be. I think that's going to force companies to rely more heavily on HR for legal compliance, for transparency, communication, and those sorts of areas.
So keeping in line with the future HR, what do you think about technology in HR? How do you see the impact of technology in HR in the next 5 years?
I think technology I think it'll continue to expand and improve in the next 5 years. I do think that as those systems are expanding, I am starting to see more reporting options in the systems. Before it was just very, like I said, very transactional. But now I'm starting to see dashboards and reports where I can see, okay, there's a flag here, somebody's missing, a component of their file, and the system is trying to tell me there's a risk there. So I think technology will continue to expand in those areas to help us mitigate those risks by showing us where the gaps are in the data.
So we talk about technology, HR in the future. Tell me, how do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I don't know. I hope I'm still doing what I'm doing now. I like what I'm doing, but I do see myself spending a lot of time continuing to educate myself on new laws, new regulations, legal compliance. I really do love where I'm at. So I still see myself in HR. I still see myself trying to, while I'm implementing the IT systems, I'm also trying to balance that with the human component too. So I see myself walking a fine line in between IT and the human touch and continuing to make companies strong. I really do like where I'm at and what I'm doing.
All right, that's great. And I will ask you the last thing today. Do you have any advice for future HR managers or maybe current HR managers?
Don't get frustrated. It can be really hard. I think there's two things. One, a lot of young upcoming HR professionals might feel like they're kind of stuck in their career where they're at. They're not really moving forward. And I would say, learn what you can in the moment, continue to get certifications, increase your knowledge and skills, and that that way, when the opportunity does arise, you will be ready to move forward. You're not going to be stuck where you're at forever. But, I would say, just be true to yourself and continue to invest in yourself. We can't always rely on technology to do everything. We have to be the drivers of that technology. So they've really got to learn how to navigate through those different systems and grow. And that way they won't become stuck. And when they do feel stuck, just don't feel frustrated. We all feel it. A lot of HR people feel burnt out sometimes, I think, especially following the pandemic. We're in a role in a company where employees bring us their problems. And that's what we do. And it can become burdensome to hear some of the struggles of what our employees are going through without it impacting us emotionally. And so we also need to, one, not feel frustrated, but two, practice good self-care and take care of ourselves and stay positive.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Jeri, for sharing your knowledge, your experience with us. We really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you.
Well, that was quick. Thank you for having me. I had a great time and I enjoyed visiting with you.